Today. And has the weather dampened the spirits of protesters? What's the turnout like, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's police constable rain, they call it, special constable, the policeman's best friend, that often leads to an early dispersal of the biggest of protests. And today, that's what's happening here. We are a bit down from Trafalgar Square, now in Parliament Square, where there was a good few thousand people before, but it's thinning out now. We're just going to give you a look around. You can see there are people just heading off. There is a stage down towards the Westminster Abbey side of the square that's blasting out one or two sounds, but all of the speeches have now ended and people are just filtering away. As I say, it's been pretty relentless, not the heaviest of rain, but it's still a bit miserable here now. I think most of the people that have been here have got the message across. They have, in no uncertain terms, they believe, let President Trump know that he is not welcome here. We'll try and grab some people if they pass, but as I say, it's thinning out. So let's see, excuse me, from Sky News, could you, nope, there's one. Let's see if we can, excuse me, from Sky News, can you tell us why you wanted to come here today? No? Hi, can you tell us why you wanted to come here today?
Why I wanted to come here today, because I think that Trump represents everything that's wrong about what's happening today in politics, in the world, and I'm very disappointed that I'm losing this. Well, I guess for me, the whole idea of Trump is that his presidency is based on lies. And
well, you might think this is a big whopper. You might think this is a big whopper that he's been telling today. He's just given a news conference. He said that he didn't really see much of a protest at all, and it's all fake news. What do you think of that?
I think fake news is when you create stuff. All you have to do is look around. Fine, it's later on in the day. People have been out since 10 o'clock this morning. So fake news, I think Trump, there is no fake news. It's reality, mate.
You're pleased with the turnout?
I'm not pleased with the turnout. I think the organisers could have done it a little better, and I think they tried to do too much. And I was just saying to colleagues, you know, starting at 10 o'clock this morning and going on until this evening, it loses its momentum. But I'm pleased that people are continuing to come, to go. I was here this morning. I went, I came back. It would have been nice if there were 100,000 here, but...
Well, one thing, people have been very, very good-natured here.
People are always good-natured when they're exercising their democratic right to protest peacefully. And it's a shame that the police have actually tried to thwart it. And I think the idea of not allowing the PA system and then having to back down and blaming you and the media for actually making them back down, I think it's actually quite interesting.
Well, listen, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Take care.
Enjoy the rest of your day. So one of the protesters there, she says she's a bit disappointed with the numbers. I would say certainly under 10,000. Trafalgar Square, it can take up to about 10,000. It wasn't full there, pretty full, but not overflowing. So perhaps just fewer than 10,000 down here in Trafalgar Square for the speeches, but now starting to disperse. As I say, it is raining, but it's been good-natured. One or two very minor flashpoints, but nothing really to speak of.
OK, Mark, for now, we'll leave it there. Mark White live in Trafalgar Square for us on those protesters regarding Trump's visit. Well, President Trump also used this afternoon's press conference to hold out the prospect of a phenomenal, he says, trade deal with the United States once Britain has left the EU. It's one of numerous positive comments the president has made about the future trading relationship between the UK and the United States. So how is this being received by the world of business? Our economics editor, Ed Conway, joins me now live from Canada Gate. Ed, you were listening into that press conference. So what do you think the business community will make of what he had to say about a future trade deal?
Well, I think that, you know, in terms of actual policy detail, I mean, there was a lot of pomp and circumstance yesterday. Today was all supposed to be about the politics, and really the most substantive policy announcement from that press conference was those comments from Donald Trump towards the end, saying that there could well be a trade deal, and if there is to be a trade deal, then everything, including the NHS, is on the table. Now, that will be seen as very controversial, of course, amongst many people who are concerned about the stability of the NHS and whether it falls into future trade deals. It's always been protected from trade deals in the past, but of course the US is one of those countries, when it does deals, it wants to do as much as it possibly can. So it wants to look at agriculture. It wants to have American farmers competing with British farmers trying to import their produce into the UK. It wants to have their pharmaceutical companies and their medical companies competing with the NHS and providing services there as well. It's all about opening up markets, and the President underlining that in his comments. But of course, that won't necessarily be popular with a lot of people. And actually, we've just heard on Twitter from Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, saying, "Dear Mr. President, the NHS isn't on the table in trade talks and never will be, not on my watch." Well, will it be his watch? We'll have to see. He is at the moment the Health Secretary, but he's also running for the party leadership. But we've also had Sam Gyimah, another leadership contender, saying, "Let me state unambiguously, the NHS should not be used as a bargaining chip in any future trade talks." So you already had two of the leadership contenders saying that the NHS isn't on the table. And indeed, Theresa May, after Donald Trump made those comments, saying, well, this is a negotiation. We aren't necessarily going to commit to this. And if the NHS were on the table, she implied, well, it may not necessarily be a legitimate trade deal that she would approve. We're waiting for the kind of winding up of the talks and indeed this visit at the moment. At some point, we're expecting the President's motorcade to go alongside us here at Buckingham Palace, and that will be perhaps the final public element of what we're seeing here in London. But of course, then things will turn to Portsmouth and indeed to those D-Day commemorations, the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and that's going to be the big story over the course of the next few days. That was something Donald Trump talked about in the course of his press conference as well. But as far as the business community are concerned, it's that question of trade and whether there is going to be a deal with the US that is dominating their thoughts, whether the NHS is going to be included, and most of all, because this is really an important thing, you can't have a trade deal with the US or indeed anyone until you've decided whether you're going to leave the EU and on what terms, and we still don't know about that. Donald Trump saying that there is a deal and actually perhaps sounding as warm as he ever has done about the possibility of MPs signing up to Theresa May's withdrawal agreement. But for the time being, we're no closer to knowing what happens with Brexit, and as a result, we're no closer to knowing what on earth is going to happen with the UK and the US economic relationship in the future.
OK, Ed, for now, thank you very much. Well, Theresa May has defended the decision to give Donald Trump a state visit, saying the special relationship between the US and the UK is something